So this is the Bloom's taxonomy utilized in the preparation of the lesson, wherein most of the objectives are based, and this is also the basis of preparing the kind of assessment that teachers have to present to the students at the end of the lesson. Now, Bloom's taxonomy is a classification of thinking organized by level of complexity. It gives teachers and students an opportunity to learn and practice a range of thinking and provides a simple structure for many different kinds of questions and thinking. So it's not only of the objectives, but this is also the basis of questioning or the preparation of those questions that will facilitate the discussion of the lesson. For Bloom's taxonomy, there are two levels of thinking skills: lower level and higher level thinking skills. We're going to identify now what are those thinking skills under each level. Lower level thinking skills include the following: knowledge, that's recalling or recognition of specific information; knowledge of major ideas; mastery of subject matter. The sample cues that you can use are list, define, tell, describe, identify, show, label, collect, examine, tabulate, quote, and name. Comprehension, that's understanding of given information. Translate knowledge into new contexts. Interpret facts. Infer causes and predict consequences. The sample cues that you can use: summarize, describe, interpret, contrast, predict, associate, differentiate, and discuss. And that's application, that's using strategies, concepts, principles, and theories in new situations to solve problems using required skills. Sample cues are apply, demonstrate, show, solve, discover, relate, arrange, classify, experiment, and modify. Now, application is usually done after the generalization, after the discussion of the lesson, and this addresses the gaps of those some misunderstandings still on the lesson, and students can now inquire and teachers can clarify lessons in this part. And then now we have the higher level thinking skills, starting with analysis. It is breaking information down into each component elements, seeing patterns and organizing parts, recognition of hidden meanings and the sample cues that you can use in your lesson plan, analyze, separate, order, explain, connect, classify, arrange, compare, select, explain, infer. For the synthesis, we have putting together ideas and elements to discover or develop an original idea or engage in creative thinking. Use old ideas to create new ones. Generalize from the given facts. Sample cues are combine, integrate, modify, rearrange, plan, design, invent, rewrite, and illustrate. For the evaluation, which is the highest in the higher level thinking skills, it is judging the value of ideas, materials, and methods by developing and applying standards and criteria. Compare and discriminate between ideas. Verify value of evidence. Sample cues are to decide, assess, rank, judge, evaluate, conclude, convince, select, discriminate. Okay, so are you now ready to try identifying the following items or terms if they belong to the high level or low level thinking skills? You can have your paper take note of your answer. Let us try. Identify nouns. Where do you think it belongs? So you just have to write high or low, and if you remember what are those particular classification under each level. Explain the flow of communication. Distinguish the correct diction. Enumerate the kinds of adjectives. Compare and contrast the characters. Rank the choices you made from the alternatives. Make a sequel on the story. And list down the things you saw. Okay, so let us try to answer. Identify nouns is under knowledge. That's the low level thinking skill. Explain is high level, specifically analysis. Distinguish is also considered in the analysis level, so that is high level thinking skills. Enumerate is low level thinking skills, and that is also under knowledge. Compare and contrast is under evaluation. Ranking is also under evaluation. Making a sequel in the story requires creativity, so that is on evaluation. And listing down the things you saw is also under low level, that is also knowledge. Again, for the Bloom's taxonomy of thinking skills, the sets of thinking skills under the lower level, we have knowledge, comprehension, application. And for the higher level thinking skills, we have analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Now, in 1990s, one of the students of Bloom, it was Lauren Anderson, who had the modification on the terms. Knowledge became remembering, comprehension became understanding, application became applying, analysis became analyzing, evaluation became evaluating, and synthesis became creating. You can see that there is an adjustment on the position of evaluating and creating, in which we consider now creating as the highest level thinking skills. What is the reason? It is because it is expected that at the end of all lessons, those skills or competencies expected from the students should be manifested as to what they have learned and how they will do the activities. So there will be sort of assessments of what they can do to come up with either a product or performance that they apply all those lessons that they have taken. Another question is, what is the difference between creating level and applying level other than the difference on the category? Applying is done within the four corners of the classroom. It is done only within that period when the teacher is teaching the lesson and after the generalization in which the students were able to understand the concept. There is a chance and opportunity on this part to clarify some gaps that they still need to learn. In the creating level, it's a manifestation of everything they have learned, and it should be done within a specific period of time, either also just like applying by group or by individual. Just like in Bloom's taxonomy, in the revised taxonomy changed by Lauren Anderson, there are also cues to remember that you can use in preparing your objectives. Like in remembering, it's recalling information, recognizing, listing, describing, retrieving, naming, and finding. And for understanding, explaining ideas or concepts, interpreting, summarizing, paraphrasing, classifying, explaining, among others. And for applying, we have using information in another familiar situation. So you can use implementing, carrying out, using, executing. For the sets of higher level thinking skills, we have analyzing. That's breaking down information into parts to explore understandings and relationships. You can use comparing, organizing, deconstructing, interrogating, and finding. For evaluating, we have justifying a decision or course of action. In your lesson planning, you can use checking, hypothesizing, critiquing, experimenting, and judging. For creating, that's generating new ideas, products, or ways of viewing things, like designing, constructing, planning, producing, and inventing. If we go back to lesson planning, do not forget that the terms to be used from the Bloom's taxonomy or from Lauren Anderson's new terms of taxonomy, you can use that in the objective to attain the SMART statements: specific, measurable, attainable, result oriented, and time bounded. Then, it should be reflected on the activities that you will use in your evaluation or assessment items. That you have to take into consideration what you expected from the students, and then you will reflect that in your objective. In this slide, we have our example of the set of objectives in a particular lesson. So it is suggested that adjective is the lesson, and the objectives are define adjectives, differentiate each kind of adjective, choose the correct adjective for each sentence, supply the appropriate adjectives for each sentence, use adjectives in sentences, change the underlined adjectives with another appropriate descriptive word, and cline the adjectives according to the degree of description. These terms are in SMART statements. They were based from Bloom's taxonomy. Always remember, when the teacher was designing or constructing the sets of objectives, he was also thinking of what kind of activities he may provide the students in the evaluation that will manifest that all the concepts within that day are learned. Now, in general, all those competencies will be coming from the curriculum guide in that particular grade level. Again, the evaluation items will be based on the expected competencies. Teachers still have to realize what appropriate activities will be able to make the students manifest the learned concept, and then he will base now his objective. That is in reverse practice now of developing the lesson plan. Objective, evaluation, and objective both will complement each other. From the set of objectives listed for that day, what are those most relevant skills that will really show the mastery of the lesson? In this case, we have here choose the correct adjective for each sentence, supply the appropriate adjectives for each sentence, and use adjectives in sentences. Meaning, all those three will be either components of the evaluation or assessment items, and it could also be utilized as part of the extended activities. From those selected items, from the list of objectives, what do you notice? They were taken from the objectives. Evaluation now complement the most relevant competencies from the list of objectives. And there we go, how we utilize the Bloom's taxonomy or the new terms from Lauren Anderson's taxonomy of thinking skills in our daily lesson planning. Thank you for watching.